Hey guys, I have for you what is quite possibly the best truck of all time, none other than the 1997 Ford F-250 with the 7.3 liter diesel. So under the hood of this 97 Ford F-250 is the legendary 7.3 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel V8 engine, and this engine was actually made by Navistar for Ford, and in fact they're so known for their reliability that people regularly state that they can get well over 500,000 miles out of these engines, even much so that Andre did a video a while back showing one with that amount of mileage on it. And that is part of why these trucks are just so legendary and so beloved, because these engines will go on forever. Now, the Power Stroke replaced the IDI 7.3 liter diesel engine, and these in the 97s had 225 horsepower, which may not sound like a lot, but you did get 450 pound-feet of torque. Now, the earlier versions were a little less powerful, and if you got the Super Duty, which is what replaced this, they did get a bit more power, but because you're getting this classic boxy styling with the legendary turbo diesel, you can't beat this one.
Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by SalvageReseller.com. This website allows you to bid live on online salvage auto auctions without a dealer's license. You can register for free or use the 20% off coupon in the description below. Go find your salvage car gem now.
So this being a 1997 F-250 means it is part of the 9th generation of Ford F-Series trucks. And if you're out there thinking, well, in 97, didn't they replace the F-150? And you would be correct. But being the F-250, it actually soldiered on for another year in the boxy body style. And I think that's part of what makes it so great and why they call it the OBS, right? This is the OBS Ford because it's the old body style. So believe it or not, in 97, you could walk into a Ford showroom and get the new body style F-150 or the old body style heavy duty trucks. And this didn't always have the heavy duty moniker. That happened in 96 and 97 until it was replaced by the Super Duty, which is now what these F-250s are known as, the Super Duty. So typical of trucks of this era, this came with an 8-foot bed, and that is because trucks back then were just made for work, because this is a work truck. It's not your family hauler, it's not your grocery getter. This is your tool to get jobs done. And in doing so, it also had a few different rear end options. You could get these with a 355 rear end, but that meant that your tow rating would only be about 8,600 pounds. Ours, however, has the 410 rear end, which means that with the manual transmission, we can tow 11,000 pounds. And if we got the automatic, we could actually tow 12,500 pounds. All right, so hopping into the 97 F-250, the first thing I want to point out is the sound of these doors closing, because they just sound like a bank vault. They're fantastic. They just don't make them like that anymore. And then the other thing I like too on this is that you get this little, I think Case likes to call them smoker's windows. I like to kind of call them a early version of a crotch vent, because if you have it positioned perfectly, it'll blow nice fresh air right in at your loins without having to actually have a vent to blow it in. But this does have 2 fuel tanks, which I was trying to find information of exact capacities of these, but either way, you at least have 35 gallons of fuel when you combine both tanks. And then if you go to the gauges, it is very basic analog. The steering wheel is also very basic and analog, but you do get cruise control buttons right on the steering wheel. The dash is very 90s Ford, you know, it's very flat, very gray, very basic. You do have a little bit of storage up here if you need it. This is an aftermarket radio, and you do have big, chunky, satisfying to use HVAC switches here, which I think are fantastic. And then this does have a floor mounted T-case, so you can shift into the 4 high and the 4 low. Now ours has a 5-speed manual, but from the factory this actually came with a 4-speed automatic, but someone swapped in the manual, and well, I kind of like that person for doing so, because that's the way that I would want this truck. And you can see here that I have 3 abreast seating in this truck. So you can have 3 people sitting here. Now it would be a little awkward for this one as you shift right into their crotch, but you do have it. And if you aren't having that 3 wide seating, you can fold this down and have some cup holders and then a little bit of storage for your coins and, I don't know, maybe some cassette tapes. But the other thing that I do really like about this is it has an actual usable back seat. There's no door back here. You can't control the windows back here, but you do have a place to sit. You do have some legroom. So in the back seat, you may not have access to those windows, but you do have your own personal cup holder. Firing up the Power Stroke. That is a pretty iconic sound, isn't it? Now, the one thing that's been a challenge to get used to, since I don't have a ton of experience driving diesel trucks, especially those with a manual transmission, is shifting the gears, right? So compared to your normal car, you have to be kind of slow and deliberate with your shifts. And that's taken a little bit of getting used to, because if you try and rush the shifts in this, you're going to be grinding the gears every time you go into the next gear. And you really got to know like exactly like when to shift. They're just not as forgiving as a normal car. You have to really almost like relearn driving a stick shift. So another thing that I was taught too is Case actually mentioned this. He said, you know, when out driving on the streets, don't even bother with first gear too much. You know, there are certain scenarios where you do need first gear, but just on regular city streets, it seems like actually just putting it in second, like I'm at a stop right now, and just giving it a little bit of gas, letting off the clutch, it's actually pretty smooth to just start down the road in second gear. It's actually much easier than using first gear all the time like you would in a traditional car. But that's just one of the many things I've had to learn about driving this truck, and I hope you guys will be patient with me and forgive me, because I'm a little bit of a novice when it comes to diesel trucks, but I do kind of get the appeal, and I think they're just known to last forever. So let's talk a little bit about values, right? So if you're out there shopping for one of these, what would you expect to pay? Well, I can tell you that we paid $18,000, and I say we as in TFL, we bought this for about $18,000. Now, you can certainly find cheaper options out there. They're likely going to be in a little bit rougher shape, maybe need a few things. And you can also just as easily find stuff that's way more expensive with lower miles and, you know, better condition than we have. Ours is kind of middle of the road. But if you really want one of these Power Strokes, I would say plan to spend a minimum of, you know, into the teens, right? That's going to be kind of your baseline to go off of. And in reality, you probably want to spend a little bit more than that, because if you spend in the, you know, the $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 range, you're probably going to have to put more money into repairs up front to get it to where it needs to be. So they're not super cheap trucks, but for what you're getting, I mean, they are a pretty good deal. If you compare it to like a new truck, this is a screaming deal. You get that classic truck feeling, you know, like you're driving a utility, a tool that is meant to fix things and to build things and to haul things. Whereas modern trucks, they're just, you know, they're made to be more of a usable daily driver. It's just not as a visceral experience as having this old truck is. And when you buy these old trucks, you don't have to necessarily deal with some of the emission stuff that's on the current trucks, right? So that's the elephant in the room, and that is why some of these trucks have become a lot more valuable, is a lot of people are really tired of dealing with, you know, like DEF fluid and all sorts of other emissions related things that really do hamper the reliability of diesel motors. But I would love to know what you guys think. Do you think this is the best truck of all time? Or is there something else that you think is better? Or is there something that I completely forgot? Either way, let me know in the comments section below. But thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We can really use your help growing this channel. This has been Brendan, and Case behind the camera. Take care, guys.